Look at this picture. Can you spot which woman plans to go home by bus? This woman left her coat in a car, while the second woman is probably waiting for the bus. Can you identify which woman has spent more money on her home than the other, just by looking at their rooms? This room belongs to the woman who spent less money. She bought her furniture at a big discount. Look, you can still see price tags here. Kelly, Jackie, and Nancy are having weddings on the same day. Can you spot what dress is the most expensive? Although Kelly's dress looks fantastic, it's several sizes larger than she needs. She must have bought it at a sale, and there were no other sizes left. There are stains and holes on Jackie's dress, so it must be secondhand. Therefore, Nancy's dress is the most expensive. Let's check how good you are at spotting small details. Which bill is fake? This bill has an obvious mistake. What about these two? Can you spot a fake? This one. The portrait doesn't belong here. What about euros? Can you see any difference? This bill is fake. Its design doesn't match the original. Now check these bills. This one is fake. Look at the words. They don't belong here. Diana is a young and ambitious entrepreneur. She wanted to find investors for her business project, but she spent all her savings on research and didn't have enough money even to afford a ticket for a business conference. So she climbed through the toilet window. The conference manager caught her on camera and sent a guard to one of the rooms where Diana might be hiding. Help the guard determine which woman is Diana. Look, this lady's the only one who doesn't have a conference bracelet on her arm. A police officer noticed a criminal getting out of a window. The officer followed the criminal, but he was running too fast and managed to hide in one of the neighboring houses. Help the police officer identify where the criminal is hiding. There are no fresh traces around this house. No one walked around it for a while. There's a family in the second house. It would be impossible for the criminal to blend in. So, the criminal is probably hiding in the third house. Look at this house very attentively. How many ghosts do you see? That's right, 13. Susie decided to do a huge cleaning in her house. When her brother Tom returned from the gym, he screamed, ran out of the house, and began to dig in the garbage. Susie has accidentally thrown out his stuff that he still needed. Help Tom find these items in the trash. That's right, here they are. George and Vera went to a flea market. They are looking for a certain antique lamp as a gift for their grandmother. Help them make the right choice and avoid cheating. This lamp fully corresponds to the photo they have. Can you spot a ghost at this stage? It's hiding behind the curtain. Fred got a puppy and brought it to his home, which he shared with 4 other people. 6 months later, Fred left for a weekend to visit his parents. When he returned, the puppy was gone, He questioned his roommates. Lily said she had spent the entire weekend at her boyfriend's place. Jack said he'd been allergic to animals and couldn't stay around them even for an hour. Henry, who was to take care of the puppy, just couldn't find the pet in the morning. Who's lying? Jack. How did he live with the puppy for 6 months with his allergy? Can you guess the country? China. Can you guess the country? That's right, it's Belgium. Can you guess the country? It's Spain. Can you guess the country? Japan. And one more. Can you guess this country? That's right. That's Iceland. Lisa and Mia are two sisters who usually spend their vacation together on the beach because they adore surfing. But this time, they decided to go on a secret snowboarding adventure in the mountains right after Mia's birthday. The sisters didn't say a word to their family and friends. Soon after, they arrived at the ski resort. They disappeared. The police examined the car and found some gifts for Mia. Which gift is suspicious? Leah's gift is suspicious. Nobody knew that the sisters had headed to the ski resort. Can you read this quote? It says, either you run the day or the day runs you. Tim woke up in a creepy house. The Wicked Witch was making a potion in the kitchen. She saw Tim and said, "Here's my dinner. Take a seat. I'll be back in a minute." Tim began to look for the exit and found 3 doors, but there's something dangerous behind each of them. A hungry wolf hid behind the first door, an evil vampire was standing behind the second door, and the third way was covered with fire. Help Tim escape safely. He needs to grab the garlic and walk through the second door. Garlic will scare away the vampire. Jill and Christy were jogging in the street. Suddenly, a taxi drove past and splashed both of them all over with water from a muddy puddle. The ladies decided to finish jogging for today, said goodbye, and went to do some laundry. Look at the picture attentively. Can you spot who of the 2 ladies is rich? Jill is rich. Her clothes say Prada, while Christy's clothes say Prada. Can you see any number in this picture? It's 217. See? Well done. Jake threw a birthday party for his brother Gregory, but when he went to the kitchen to grab the cake, he saw a creepy note in the fridge which said, "There's a ghost at your party." Jake ran to the living room to check the guests. Can you help him spot the ghost? This woman over here doesn't stand on her feet. Can you read this? It says Matrix. Jane woke up in a creepy laboratory. A mad scientist said, "I'm gonna let you go if you make the right choice," and showed her 3 doors. But each door hid danger. Behind the first door, she saw poisonous gas that will make her unconscious in 5 seconds. The second door hid acid that burns everything out in 5 seconds. And the third door hid a pool with water infected with a dangerous virus. Which door should Jane choose? The third door. She can walk across the water on her high heels without touching the water. Look at these people. Can you place an apple in such a way so all the people but one see it? Where do you place the apple? Do you see any secret spots in the room? You have 10 seconds to figure it out. You don't need any special spots to fulfill the condition. Just place an apple on someone's head. Let's have a brief personality test. Can you see any weird elements in this picture? What detail did you notice first? A snowman holding a mug with a hot drink in its hand. B, a skier wearing a diver's costume and mask. C, a peacock hiding in the snow-covered trees in the background. If your choice is A, you're probably a very practical person. You have the talent to create a cozy and beautiful environment for your friends and family. If you choose B, you're smart and witty. You know how to invest your money and time wisely and dedicate yourself to really important things. And if you spotted the peacock, you're probably attracted to mysticism and art. You have a great imagination and unusual talent to see the details that other people don't see. Let's play a brief game. Answer these questions and see the results at the end. Would you rather have tattoos all over your body or have piercings all over your body? Option A gives you 10 points, and option B gives you 20 points. Would you rather breathe with fire when you speak or breathe ice when you speak? If you chose A, give yourself 20 points, and B brings you 10 points. Would you rather have your own spaceship or have your own planet? 20 points for A and 10 points for B. Would you rather have none of your dreams come true or have all of your dreams come true at once? Option A brings you 10 points and option B 20 points. Would you rather laugh uncontrollably when sad or cry uncontrollably when happy? 10 points for A and 20 points for B. You're very responsible but anxious, or you live one day and trust your instincts. 10 points for A and 20 points for B. Do you care deeply about everything around you, or do you act and win without any doubts? 10 points for A and 20 points for B. You're ready to fight your corner, or you never show when you're hurt. 20 points for A and 10 points for B. Now, let's count your results. If your score is between 80 to 120 points, you have a calm and grounded personality. You can settle any conflict and bring peace, which is why your friends love you very much. It seems like you were born to lead, be responsible for others, and make things done. 120 to 160 points, you love adventures, and adventures love you. People admire your bright personality, even if they don't show that. A job in the field of entertainment, art, and tourism will be the perfect choice for you.
Chris and William are getting ready for the day. Which of them doesn't live alone? William is brushing his teeth, but there is one more toothbrush in the bathroom. It's likely to belong to someone else, so I'd say William doesn't live alone. Now, take a look at these pictures of Philip and Kai. One of them lives with his girlfriend. Can you tell who it is? There's a pair of high heels and a dress in Philip's wardrobe. He probably has a girlfriend. Look at Luna and Evadine's rooms. One of the girls has a sister who she shares the room with. Can you tell who has a sister? There's a bunk bed in Luna's room. I bet she has a sibling. Okay, one of these guys has a cat. Can you tell who it is? It's the guy on the right. Look, the wallpaper at the bottom of the wall is scratched. Now, I'll be showing you some pictures one by one. Your task is to find what's wrong with them. Ready? Here's the first one. The sun is shining, but the camels don't cast shadows. Here's the next one. What's really off here? Look at the flag at the top of the building and at the tree nearby. It seems that the wind is blowing in different directions. This is impossible. This one is pretty simple. What will you say? The reflection in the mirror is wrong. Pay attention to the smallest details. What's wrong here? The school bus doesn't have a door. Something's off with this image. What is it? Look at the clock. In the winter, no sunset can happen at this hour. Esme was walking in the forest. She got lost, but found the witch's house. She walked in to ask for her help. The witch and the cat had a guest. The witch's grandson came to visit. The grandson had heard of Esme and of her ability to solve riddles. So, he had a riddle for her too. He took a t-shirt and cut 2 holes in it. The question was, how many holes does the t-shirt have now? Eight. With 2 holes cut through, there are 2 on each side, 4 in total. Plus, there are 2 holes for the arms, 1 for the head, and 1 at the bottom. Every weekday, Kennedy eats an apple on her way to work. Once, she noticed a woman selling flowers. The woman gave a man a bouquet and said, "Tuna sandwich." The next day, it was yogurt, directed at another person. On the 3rd day, it was eggs. Kennedy got curious and walked up to the woman to get some flowers. The woman said apple. What was her weird ability? The woman always knew the last thing her client ate. Simon had a crush on a new girl in his class. Finally, he asked her out on a date. To impress her, he told the girl he had undergone a special secret training program. And then he visited the moon. He even had a picture. The girl took a look at it but didn't believe Simon. Why? In the picture, Simon is standing on the moon. Still, there's another moon in the background, which is impossible. He might have cool Photoshop skills, but he definitely hadn't thought it through. One rich and well-known elderly woman, Mrs. Stevenson, had been living alone for years. She had one interesting quirk. Every time someone rang the doorbell, she wouldn't open the door without putting on her coat and hat first. Can you guess why? She didn't know who the visitor was until she opened the door. If she liked that person, she'd tell them she'd just returned home and invite them to come in. If it was someone she didn't want to spend time with, she said she was leaving. Mrs. Jordan loved music, so she sent her daughter, Gianna, to music school. The woman made the girl play every day. Once, Mrs. Jordan had to go on a business trip for 2 weeks. She asked Gianna to practice every day, and the girl agreed. When Mrs. Jordan came back 2 weeks later, she realized Gianna hadn't been practicing. How did she understand it? The piano is dusty, which means it's been a while since Gianna last opened it. A group of aliens from another galaxy discovered planet Earth and decided to study people. 4 of them turned into humans and went to our planet to explore. But the aliens didn't really succeed in pretending to be humans. Take a look at these photos and try to find an alien. Here's the first image. Can you spot anything strange? This guy's skin is blue. He must be the alien. This one's harder. Do you see a fake human here? It's winter and it's cold, but this guy is only wearing shorts. That's some non-human ability to tolerate cold temperatures. What about this one? Take a closer look at what this guy is eating. It doesn't look like human food at all. Okay, what do you say here? Did you notice this one has 6 fingers? I bet it's him. Mrs. Lawrence has 3 daughters who she doesn't allow to go outside after 8 p.m. The woman was at work when a neighbor called her and said she'd seen one of her daughters in the mall. Mrs. Lawrence immediately called each of her girls. Mia said she'd been playing badminton outside. Nicole said she had an online study session with her friends. Quinn said she'd been playing computer games. Who lied? Mia. She couldn't play badminton alone, and since her sisters were all busy, they couldn't play with her. I have a friend, Anna. Her mom is the most unusual person I know. She has green hair, wears skirts with trousers, and has a pet raccoon. She also has 3 daughters. Her oldest daughter's name is Wednesday. Her middle daughter's name is Thursday. Can you guess what her youngest daughter's name is? Well, it's Anna's mom, so her 3rd daughter's name is Anna. On the first day of college, Ruby went missing. A detective had 3 suspects: Mrs. Collins, the director, Mr. Wright, the cleaning man, and Cassidy, Ruby's best friend. Mrs. Collins said that she had to do her midterm report and hadn't left her office. Mr. Wright said he hadn't even seen the girl. Cassidy said they'd spent the whole day together at college. But then Ruby went home. Who is lying? It must be the director, Mrs. Collins. It was the first day of college. There couldn't possibly be any midterm reports yet. Della and Aurora always tell the truth, but on their birthdays, they always lie. Today is September 3rd, and their friend Mark asks them when their birthdays are. Della says it was yesterday. Aurora says it's tomorrow. The next day, the guy asks the same question, but their answers don't change. When are the girls' birthdays? Each of them lied on one of the days, so these 2 days must be their birthdays. Della said it was yesterday both times, so her birthday must be on September 3rd. Then, the next day, she told the truth. September 4th is Aurora's birthday. She told the truth on the first day and then lied on her birthday. Hazley and Skylar are jaywalking. Hazley is listening to music and Skylar is texting. Who is in danger? It's Skylar. She's jaywalking right where the road takes a turn. There's a car approaching her, and the driver might not have enough time to react. Serafina and Flora wanted to go to a party, but their parents had grounded them. Serafina decided to leave through the back door, and Flora wanted to sneak out through her bedroom window. Who will not make it to the party? Probably Flora. Her father is sitting next to her window, reading a book. He'll probably see her leaving. Brooke and Sydney were going to learn how to swim. Brooke went to the lake near her house, and Sydney went to the ocean with her friends. Who is in greater danger? Brooke. She went alone. There was no one around to save her in case something goes wrong. Brielle got a new bike as a present for her birthday. It was a surprise, so she locked it in the room and left for work. When she returned, the bike wasn't there. She realized someone in her family must have pulled a prank. Her brother said he hadn't seen anything. Her dad said he'd noticed a bike while walking past her room, but she was in a hurry to get to work. Her mom said she'd spent the day downstairs making a cake. Who pulled the prank? It must be Brielle's dad. She locked the room so he couldn't see the bike unless he walked in. In a magical world, there are two cities connected by a bridge. The city on the left bank of the river is guarded. No one can enter or leave it without written permission. Ellie was held captive in this city. She managed to escape and needed to get to the other side. It took 10 minutes to cross the bridge, but the guard came out of his house every 5 minutes. How can Ellie cross the bridge? Ellie should leave the city when the guard goes back to his house. 5 minutes later, she should turn around and walk back towards the guard. When she approaches the man, he'll think she's trying to come in. But since Ellie won't have any permission, he'll send her back to the city on the right bank of the river.
A young woman went to another town to look for a better job. She promised her mother she would come and visit her often. But 4 months passed, and she still didn't come home. Her mother missed her very much. One day, in the middle of winter, the woman shouted, "April is here!" How is it possible? April was her daughter's name. She finally came to visit her family. It's usually under you. Take away its first letter, and it'll be above you. Take away its first 2 letters, and you won't see it. What is it? It's a chair, which can transform into hair and air. Look at this picture and try to understand what's wrong with it. Why would this young lady put a pair of boots on the table and a saw in the fridge? How about this image? Does anything strike you as odd? There's a snowman in the oven and a fish in the toaster. Dennis, Maria, and Julie were at a party. They decided to play a game. There were 5 hats, 2 red ones and 3 yellow ones. The friends closed their eyes, took random hats, and put them on their heads. Then they opened their eyes and looked at one another. Each of them had to guess what color the hat on their head was. Dennis and Julie said they didn't know, but Maria exclaimed that she knew the color of her hat. What color was it? It was yellow. Maria saw that Dennis and Julie were wearing red hats, and she knew there were only 2 of those. You can't share it until you take it. What is it? It's a photo. You see a combination of letters OTTFFSS. What should be the next 3 letters in the line? They should be ENT. These are the first letters of the names of the numbers from 1 to 10. Michael was walking along the street when a sealed envelope landed near his feet. The guy picked it up. Inside, there was a key and a note. It said, "Help, 323." Michael entered the building. Soon, he found a door number 323 and used the key to open it. He saw a man near the open window. He was gagged and tied to a chair. Once free, the man exclaimed, "2 men broke into my office, tied me up, and took all the money from my safe. Luckily, my hands were free. I managed to write this note and throw it together with the key out the window." Michael didn't believe the man and called the police. Why? The envelope was sealed. How could the man do it if he was gagged? It can never be thrown, but it can be caught. People are always looking for ways to lose it. What is it? It's a cold. Two teams were playing soccer against each other. Each of the teams scored 2 goals in total. And still, it wasn't a tie. One team won and the other lost. How come? One of the teams scored an own goal. Young but very popular blogger Eric wrote his first book. It was a huge success. The guy was preparing for his first book signing. He was very excited and nervous, so he took a break to steady his nerves in a quiet corner. But even at 6 p.m., when the meeting was supposed to start, Eric was nowhere to be seen. In 10 minutes, a security guard found him lying on the floor in the bathroom. Someone had hit the writer on the head. The police had 3 suspects. Angela, his agent, said she had been solving some urgent organizational issues. Frank, one of the fans, said he had been a great lover of Eric's books for years. He wouldn't do anything to harm the writer. And Patrick, the security guard, said he had been doing his job, keeping the fans away from the entrance. Who hit Eric? It was Frank. It was Eric's first book. Frank couldn't possibly be reading his books for years. Look at these guys carefully. Who is a fake fireman? It's the guy on the right. He's not wearing a helmet and doesn't have a special bag. Plus, his pants aren't part of the uniform. You have 3 empty cups and 10 sugar cubes. You need to distribute these sugar cubes between the cups so that each of them contains an odd number of cubes. Put 3 sugar cubes in the first cup and 3 cubes in the second one. After that, put the remaining 4 cubes and the second cup in cup number 3. Now, the first cup has 3 sugar cubes, and the second one has 3 sugar cubes too. As for the third cup, it has 7 sugar cubes, 4 of its own and 3 in the second cup. 2 roommates, Deborah and Rachel, were walking home after doing their weekly grocery shopping. Deborah kept complaining about how heavy her bags were. Then Rachel told her, "I don't understand why you're upset. If you gave me one of your bags, I would have twice more bags than you do. And if I gave you one of mine, we would have the same number of bags." How many bags were the girls carrying? Rachel had 7 bags, while Deborah was only carrying 5 bags. Detective Black's assistant, Josh, was late for work. When he arrived, he told his boss the following story. "I was driving along the highway when I saw an unconscious man lying on the left side of the road. I picked him up and took him to the nearest hospital. Finally, he came to his senses. He told me he had been pushed out of the moving vehicle. The bag and all of his money and documents were left inside." But Detective Black said the man was lying. How did he figure it out? If the man had indeed been pushed out of the car, he would have been lying on the right side of the road, not the left one. Kenneth was starving. He found a nice diner that served burgers and bought one. After a waiter brought him his order, Kenneth went to the bathroom to wash his hands. But when he came back, his burger was gone. The guy looked around the diner and understood who had taken his lunch. Can you figure it out? It's the young woman with a dog sitting at her feet and sniffing the air. If she was just drinking coffee, which is what she's pretending to do, the dog wouldn't be so interested in her. Mary was walking through the park when she spotted a hungry dog. The woman decided to share her snack with the animal. Unfortunately, there was a stream between her and the pooch. She squatted down to attract the dog's attention and showed it the food. The animal was next to her in no time. There was no bridge over the stream, and still the dog wasn't wet. How is it possible? It happened in the winter, and the stream was frozen. A rich entrepreneur disappeared from his office. The only thing he left behind was a note with the numbers 6, 4, 9, 10, and 11, and a calendar. The police have 5 suspects: James, Kevin, Carol, Jason, and Laura. Who knows something about the man's disappearance? It's Jason. The numbers mean months of the year, and the first numbers of these months make up the culprit's name, Jason. Matthew bought a new smartphone and a phone case. He paid $310. The gadget cost $300 more than the case. How much did Matthew pay for the phone? He paid $305. Tony was hosting a party. 3 hours after it started, several guests came up to the guy. They asked where they could charge their phones. Unfortunately, there was only one socket in Tony's house. The guy checked all the power strips he had. Help him figure out how many phones he can charge at a time. Tony can charge 8 phones. Look, one strip has its cord cut. The strip with one socket is literally useless. One of the strips doesn't have a cord whatsoever. Another has no hole for a plug. Plus, one socket on each of the 2 strips will be taken by the plugs from the others. A rich businessman called the police. When he arrived at his office in the morning, he remembered he had left a bunch of important documents in his safe at home. He sent his secretary, John, to bring them. But the guy called half an hour later. He said the safe was open. The documents were still inside, but all the money had disappeared. The police examined the businessman's home office. They tried to find some fingerprints. Nothing at all. The detective had 3 suspects: the secretary, the businessman's nephew, Mark, and the housekeeper. The secretary said he had called his boss as soon as he had seen the safe. Mark said, "I opened the door for John. Then I went to my room and found out about the accident only after John called me." The housekeeper told the police she had been very busy with her chores and hadn't been to the office since the previous evening. Who took the money? It was the secretary. There were no fingerprints in the room, but John was there and definitely touched different things. If he hadn't been guilty, he wouldn't have wiped his fingerprints off. Can you find a dino that is different than the rest? Right, it's this one. Lucas and Hudson are walking. Which one of them isn't very smart? It's Hudson. He's staring at the screen of his phone and can miss that cliff and fall over. Even though Lucas is blind, he still has his stick. With its help, he'll know about the edge of the cliff as soon as he reaches it. He's safe. Opal is spending a vacation climbing the mountains. Karis is climbing Everest. Can you tell which one of them isn't smart? It's Opal. Look, she's forgotten about the safety rope and is climbing without it. Not good. Gabriel and Archer are bloggers who take selfies in dangerous places. This time, Gabriel is taking a selfie while surfing a huge wave, and Archer has chosen to take one while standing on the edge of the bridge above the lake. Who is not being careful? It's Gabriel. They're both doing very risky things, but at least Archer has some people around who can help him if something happens. Gabriel is alone in the ocean. It's a very early morning after a party. Egan and Bradley are driving their children to college. Can you tell who's not smart? Egan. His son isn't even in the car. Delilah and Ellery are on vacation. Both of them decided to learn something new. Delilah is skiing in the forest, and Ellery is practicing skating on the lake. Who's in danger? It's Ellery. Look, the ice on the lake is cracking, and there's no one around to help her. She should get out of there as fast as possible. Ariana and Eliza are getting ready for a barbecue party they're hosting. Ariana is making salads outside, and Eliza is decorating the house and the garden. Who's not being smart? It's Ariana. While she's busy with the salads, the meat is going bad in the sun. Karis, a mother of 4, returned home and saw that all the teenagers were quietly doing their own stuff. The oldest one, Amanda, was playing Uno, Gabriella was reading, Haven was painting. What was Ainsley doing? Ainsley was playing Uno with Amanda. Take a look at these guys and tell who is behaving stupidly. All the guys on the left, they will all fall in the end. The only guy who will stay on the tree is the one on the right. Detective Callum was spending his holiday in Hawaii. He was having his evening coffee on the terrace when he heard some noise and a scream. The balcony door of the room next to his was open, so he walked in and asked what had happened. A young actress, Chanel, was staying there. She said some man dressed in black and wearing a mask broke into her room and tried to take her away. She screamed and the criminal ran away, disappearing in the hallway. The actress asked Detective Callum to find the man immediately. But the detective said Chanel could try to fool someone else, and he'd rather return to his coffee. Why didn't he believe the girl? Look at the door of the actress's room. Lots of boxes are blocking it. If the man had indeed run out of the door, he'd have pushed all the stuff out of his way. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to open it. The girl just tried to make up some drama to get media attention. Adam came to his PE class and told the teacher that, unfortunately, he couldn't work out. He broke his arm the other day. But Adam had a bad reputation. The teacher didn't believe him and told the guy to stop fooling around. Do you believe Adam? Look, he has a cast on his arm, but it's placed over his jacket. It must be fake. Mrs. Miller reported that someone in the neighborhood had run up to her and stolen her bag. The authorities interrogated all the neighbors. Bryce said he had been away. I came home less than a minute ago. Arden said she'd spent all day at home and hadn't been outside. Easton said he had taken his dog for a walk, but he didn't steal anything or see anything strange. The authorities arrested one person. Who? They arrested Bryce. He said he'd just come home, but the water in the pot on the stove is boiling. He must have been at home for a while already. Ames worked in a clock store. One day he called the police. When they arrived, Ames told them he had been working when the electricity suddenly went off. He tried to solve the problem by himself first. Then he called the police. They soon figured out what had happened, and the lights were on again. Ames immediately checked the cash desk. Apparently, while the lights were off, someone broke into the store and stole all the money. But the police didn't believe him and arrested the man. Why? In the store, there were mechanical and electric clocks, but the difference between the time they display is just 10 minutes. Mechanical clocks don't stop when the electricity is off. It means that the lights were off only for about 10 minutes. Ames must have switched the electricity off by himself and then called the police. Nelson was a writer. He was always disturbed by teenagers gathering outside his house and couldn't focus. One day, the man called the police. When they arrived, he said someone had thrown a stone at his office window. He asked the police to officially prohibit the teenagers from coming anywhere close to his house. But the detective didn't believe him. Why? Look, the glass is broken at the bottom, but this part of the window is protected by the balcony outside. Nelson must have broken the window himself to accuse the teenagers. A family was on vacation, and they had no idea what day it was. Dad said, I'm pretty sure it's either Monday or Tuesday. Mom added, all I know is that it wasn't Wednesday yesterday. Jake said, it must be Wednesday, or the weekend. Sienna was in doubt. Maybe it's Friday. Ruby said, Friday is tomorrow. Can you tell what day it is if only one statement is true? According to Dad, it's Monday or Tuesday. According to Mom, it's any day other than Thursday. So it might be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Jake is sure it's Wednesday, Saturday, or Sunday. Sienna claims it's Friday, and according to Ruby, it's Thursday. The only day that is mentioned only once is Thursday. It means Ruby is right. Paige and Quinley were sisters. They were hanging out together in their room. Quinley had a crush on a guy from her school. She decided to write him a letter. Paige thought it was a bad idea, but Quinley wouldn't listen to her. Once she was almost done, Quinley went downstairs to get some tea. When she returned, the letter was gone. Paige said that a gust of wind suddenly blew in and the letter flew out of the window. But Quinley didn't believe her and asked Paige to give her the letter back. How did she figure out her sister had taken the letter? When the wind blows inside a room from the outside, nothing can possibly fly out of the window. Colton got into an accident and had memory loss. Kennedy and Isla both claimed to be his girlfriend. They took the guy to the place where they had their first date. Each of the girls hoped Colton would decide she was his real girlfriend. Have you figured out who the guy dated? Look, there are initials painted on the tree, saying C plus I. It means Colton's girlfriend is Isla. In a hotel, someone robbed a rich gentleman. The only witness was Joseph, a cleaning man working in the hotel. He was tidying a room nearby at the time of the robbery. The detective asked the man if he had seen anything. Joseph said, "When I heard the noise, I was going to enter the room, but then the door opened and hit me on the head. I couldn't see for a while." Joseph even showed the police officer a bruise on his forehead. The detective didn't believe Joseph, though, and arrested him for assisting the robber. Why? The door couldn't hit Joseph because it opens inwards, so he lied. After an accident, Karis was staying in the hospital. Only relatives were allowed to visit her. But 3 guys wanted to see the girl: her boyfriend, a classmate who was in love with her, and her brother. Each of them said he was her brother. Take a look at the guys' identity cards and try to figure out who her brother is. Her brother must be Philip. The age difference between Karis and Colton is 4 months, and between Karis and Nero, 5. Such an age gap is too small for them to be siblings. Maddox came to the police station to report his cousin Damon. The guy asked Maddox if he could stay with him for a couple of days. In the evening, Damon asked the host to bring him some fruit from the basement. When Maddox went there, Damon locked him inside. There was no electricity and no light in the basement, and Maddox didn't have a single gadget with him that could help him out. 2 days later, at 4 a.m., he heard his cousin drive away. It was only later that day that he managed to get out, thanks to a postman. Maddox found out that all his money had been stolen. But the police officers didn't believe him. Why? Maddox said he hadn't had any gadgets to check the time. It was also too dark to see anything on a regular clock. Then how could he figure out when exactly his cousin drove away? You ready? Let's go! Nash works with 3 women: Madison, Samantha, and Gabriella. He's been in love with one of them for months. Take a look at the picture of them having a conversation. Can you tell which of the women Nash is in love with? Psychologists say we tend to point our feet toward the person we like the most in the group. Nash's feet are pointing at Madison, so his secret crush must be her. A group of friends, Abby, Beck, Tom, Flynn, and Ethan, were spending an evening together eating and talking. Abby knew her best friend Beck had a secret crush on someone, but her friend never told her who the crush was. At some point, Beck cracked a joke and everyone started laughing. Abby paid closer attention to something and immediately figured out who Beck's crush was. Can you guess it too? When people laugh, they tend to look at those who they like the most. So let's see who Beck is looking at. Ooh, seems like it's Tom. Emily's won the lottery and now she can choose her prize. There are 3 options: a brand new Ferrari, a Gucci handbag, and Jimmy Choo shoes. Take a closer look at them and tell which prize she should choose. Emily should choose the handbag. The logos of Ferrari and Jimmy Choo are wrong, so the car and the shoes must be fake. Esme got lost in the forest again. This time, it didn't take her long to find at least the old witch's house. She petted the cat and asked if the witch could help her get out of the forest. Again. The witch agreed, but on one condition. Esme had to solve her riddle. If she succeeded, the witch would send her home, and if she failed, Esme would stay with the witch and the cat forever. Esme had to agree. The witch gave her 3 sticks and asked her to turn them into 6 without breaking any. Esme managed to do the task. How? Three sticks are exactly enough to make the Roman 6 out of them, like this. Take a look at these 2 women going to the opera. Can you tell which one of them is a model of a popular brand? Both women have Louis Vuitton bags, but take a closer look at the logos. The logo on the right is wrong, so the bag must be fake. It means that the woman on the left is the face of the brand. The Millers and the Johnsons are going on a vacation. Can you tell which family has a daughter? Take a closer look at their suitcases. The Millers have 2 suitcases, but the Johnsons have 3. The extra one must be their daughter's, who's probably just left for a while. Let's move to Norway. After the Christmas break, 2 twin sisters, Alicia and Ada, came to visit their mother. However, one of the sisters has a boyfriend from Thailand who she visited right before her mother. Can you tell which one? Norway is a cold country in the north. Also, it's winter, but unlike her twin sister, Ada is tanned. It's probably because she just spent her vacation in some warm country, like Thailand, at her boyfriend's place. So it must be her. A chemist has discovered a new element. 3 days later, he suddenly disappeared. Ben, his intern, is supposed to finish the scientist's work. However, all the data is on the chemist's computer, and Ben doesn't know the passcode. He only knows that the passcode is his daughter's name, which the scientist has never mentioned. Luckily, there's a hint. Can you guess the daughter's name? Her father is a chemist, so the key must be something related to chemistry. How about the periodic table? The 9th element is fluorine, which is F. The 53rd element is iodine, and that's I. Then there's 8, which is oxygen, or O. And the 11th element is sodium, which is Na. So the daughter's name is Fiona, and that's the password. Mr. and Mrs. Murphy are having a walk in a park with 3 girls: Adeline, Kaylee, and Sienna. Two of them are their nieces, and the other one is their daughter. Can you tell which girl is the daughter? Their daughter is Adeline. Look, both Mr. and Mrs. Murphy have blue eyes. It means that their daughter can only have blue eyes too. Adeline is the only girl with blue eyes. Three girls, May, Reagan, and Tessa, came to a private party and said that they're world-famous top models. However, two of them lied. Can you guess which one of them told the truth and is really a famous top model? She must be wearing a real designer purse and not a copy. Look, the logos of Reagan and Tessa's Dolce & Gabbana purses are wrong, so these girls must be lying. It seems like the real model is May. Gabriel noticed a beautiful woman in a park and came up to meet her. They talked for hours and, among other things, he learned that she's a music teacher, has 3 siblings and a niece. Gabriel asked her out on a date, but the woman said she'd only agree if he guessed the name of her niece. Gabriel says it's impossible and asked for a hint. The woman said just 2 words, 3, 6. Can you help Gabriel guess the name? Remember, she's a music teacher, so it must be somehow connected to music. Let's recall the musical notes: do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. The third one is mi, and the 6th one is la. If we put them together, we get Mila. That must be the woman's niece's name. Voila! It's date night. At the end of a school break, Elle returned to her class to find a short love note on her desk. She looked around to see who it could be from, but she couldn't tell. Still, she had 3 suspects, the students who'd always been especially nice to her. She asked them directly if they wrote her a note. Martin said he had been busy finishing his homework. Owen said he had been scrolling through his social media feed and hadn't written any notes. Leanna denied writing a note too and said that she'd been in the bathroom. However, Elle still guessed who wrote the note. Can you? Look, Leanna's hands are covered in ink. If she really was in the bathroom, her hands would be clean. So, she must be lying, and she must be the one who wrote that note. Hey, don't be shy. After a summer break, all students returned to school. 4 friends started to talk about what they had been doing all summer. It turned out that all of them had been traveling. Addison said she and her family had taken a trip to Moldova to visit her grandma. Ash said he and his girlfriend had spent the whole 2 months in Venezuela. Joshua said he'd visited Narnia, and Kira had been to several Asian countries. However, one of the friends actually stayed at home the whole time. Can you tell who? It's Joshua. Narnia is a fictional country. He probably had a movie marathon that summer. Dan found himself in a dark dungeon and couldn't remember what happened. But he didn't mind because right in front of him there were 3 chests. One of them was full of gold coins, another was full of silver coins, and the third one was full of diamonds. He could take any one of the chests with him. However, outside there was a vampire waiting for him. What should Dan do? Dan should take the chest with the silver coins. Vampires are afraid of silver, so he'd be able to walk past the vampire. Ka-ching! Ms. Harrelson reported that someone had broken into her house and stolen her grandma's golden watch. Detective Callum was up for the case and interrogated the woman. Ms. Harrelson said she had been vacuum cleaning upstairs when she heard some scratching on the door, followed by footsteps. She was afraid, so she didn't go downstairs until the burglar was gone. When it was over, she found that her watch was stolen. Detective Callum refused to start the case and said that the woman was lying. Why? Ms. Harrelson said that she had been vacuum cleaning when she heard the noise. It just wouldn't be possible because the vacuum cleaner is very noisy and she couldn't possibly have heard anything. Hope and Luke are a couple living in New York. Luke recently got a new job and left for a work trip to India. In the afternoon, Hope called her boyfriend and asked what he was doing. Luke said he was having a lunch and was going for a business meeting soon. When Luke returned home a week later, Hope broke up with him. Why? When it's afternoon in New York, it's night in India. However, Luke said he had been having a lunch and going for a meeting after. People don't do this at night. He lied. He probably hadn't even been in India. Austin got locked in the room that was going to explode in 1 minute. Been there, done that. There was a way out, but the door was locked and required a passcode. Take a look at the hint and guess what the passcode is. Each number is the number of lines in the respective letter. There are 4 lines needed for an E and M, 2 for V, 2 for T, and 3 for Z. Following the same logic, the passcode is 1332. Good work! Discover the Sun was a very popular travel agency. It sold package tours to the hottest and most exotic destinations. But one day, the police found out this company helped criminals flee the country. They also learned the exact date when it would happen the next time. On that day, several police officers arrived at the airport. They stopped a group of tourists who were flying to a Caribbean island. But the detectives didn't know the criminal's identity. That's why they had to search the baggage of all the customers. Look at their bags and say who the criminal is. It's the young woman on the left. If she's going on a package tour to a hot place, why does she need a winter jacket? Eric is trapped in a room. It's slowly filling with water that's coming from a tap in the wall. There are no windows in the room, and the door is blocked. Eric has a mop and a big bucket. What can he do to survive? The only thing the guy needs to do is to turn off the tap. You knew that, didn't you? Laura agreed to take part in a riddle competition. One of the tasks was to get out of a locked room. She had to figure out the code for the combination lock. And the only thing that could help her was this note. 2 equals 6, 4 equals 26, 5 equals 426, 6 equals what? In a couple of minutes, Laura was already leaving the room. What was the code? The code was just one number, 6. 6 equals 2 because 2 equals 6. Megan invited her friends to her favorite restaurant to celebrate her birthday. They were having a lot of fun. Megan got the best birthday present ever. Her friends gave her a diamond ring. Suddenly, the room plunged into darkness. After several minutes of total confusion, the lights came back on. But Megan's ring was gone. Look at the picture thoroughly and try to figure out who stole it. It's the waiter. Look at the glass he's holding. He put the ring inside. Now there's much more water in it. Jacob's girlfriend Nicole loved riddles. One day she was on a business trip to France. She called Jacob and told him it was her relative's birthday. "Could you go and congratulate them, please?" When the guy asked her which relative he had to visit, Nicole answered, "It's the daughter of the only son of my grandfather." Who is this mysterious relative Jacob is asked to congratulate? It's Nicole's sister. Brandon was a police officer. That day, he was patrolling the streets of the small town where he lived. When the man was driving past his best friend's house, he saw that the front door was open. He decided to check if everything was okay. As soon as Brandon entered the hall, he spotted his friend lying on the floor. After the man was taken to a hospital, the officer went to question the neighbors. Julie said, "I've been planting new fruit trees in my garden since early morning." Nathan said, "I have some problems with my car. I was in the garage all day long trying to fix them." And Patrick told Brandon, "They aired a new episode of my favorite TV show. I stayed at home to watch it." Which neighbor is lying? Nathan. His hands and gloves are spotless. It wouldn't be possible if he had been repairing his car. This means he's lying. Ms. Lopez took her students to an art museum. Half an hour into the excursion, a worried museum worker approached the professor. He told Ms. Lopez one of the exhibits, a precious vase, had been damaged. The culprit could be no one else but one of the students. Only 3 of them came close to the vase, but who ruined it? Maria said, "After I looked at the vase, I noticed my makeup was smudged, so I went straight to the bathroom." Anthony said, "I didn't touch the exhibit. After looking at it, I went to the next room to see the dino skeleton." And Nathan said he had been following Ms. Lopez taking notes. One of these students is lying, but who? Anthony. There are no dinosaur bones in the art museum. Someone broke into Samantha's house through the window and stole some valuable things. When the police came, she told them she suspected her younger brother Sam. The police officers went to question the guy, but he denied everything. "I was playing basketball several days ago and broke my arm. It's in a cast now. I wouldn't be able to get into the house." The police officers left, but the next day, one of them saw Sam in a cafe. The guy was still wearing the cast, but the officer immediately arrested him. Why? When the police visited Sam, the guy had the cast on his right arm. Now, it was on his left arm. Look at these 2 families having dinner. One is munching on pizzas with different yummy toppings. The other is having steaks and vegetables. Can you figure out which family is poorer? No matter how tasty the pizzas are, they're still cheaper than large pieces of meat. This means the family eating steaks must have more money than the second one. Keith had a tragic accident when he was a teenager. Unfortunately, it left the guy blind. He was dreaming of being able to see again for years. One day, Keith was lucky to find a doctor who told him a special surgery could solve his problem. Keith agreed right away. The surgery went well, and the guy took a train to go home. His girlfriend accompanied him. The doctor told Keith he had to wait for at least 3 hours before taking the bandages off. Keith was so impatient and excited he could hardly wait for the time to be over. 3 hours later, they were still on the train. And even though his girlfriend was against this idea, the guy wouldn't listen. He slowly pulled off the bandages, and then he screamed and lost consciousness. Why? When Keith opened his eyes, the train was going through a dark tunnel. The poor guy thought he was still blind and fainted. To pass an exam, Dennis has to solve a riddle. 2 plus 2 is the same as 2 times 2. Find a set of 3 whole numbers whose sum will be the same as their total when multiplied. Dennis gave the right answer almost immediately. These numbers are 1, 2, and 3. Tyler was going to his friend's place in the evening when a stranger in a black mask caught him. The next thing the guy knew, he was in a large room, locked in a cage. There were 3 levers in the wall next to the cage. If he pulled the first lever, he would let hungry lions into the cage. The second lever would fill the cage with water, and the third lever would activate a special mechanism. It would make the top of the cage move down towards the bottom, crushing everyone and everything inside. Which lever should Tyler pull to survive? His only choice is the second lever. All the water will flow out through the bars of the cage. Joan came home one evening and discovered that someone had burgled her house. When the police arrived, first of all, they went to question the neighbors. Victoria said, "I was visiting my friend. She lives 2 blocks away. I came home a couple of minutes ago." Peter explained to the officers that he was ill. He only made a short trip to the pharmacy and stayed in bed after that. Nathan said, "My wife and I were preparing for a barbecue party. Our friends were supposed to come to us, but as you see, it's pouring with rain and we had to cancel our plans." The police officers realized that for some reason, one of the neighbors was lying. Who was it? Victoria. It was raining, and she said she had just come home, but her hair, clothes, and the umbrella, which was standing near the door, were absolutely dry. Matthew has only black and white socks, but he keeps them all mixed. One evening, the guy's in a hurry. He's getting ready for a romantic dinner with his girlfriend. Suddenly, the power goes out. Now it's completely dark in the room. The guy has 10 white and 10 black socks in the drawer. He can't see anything. How many socks must he pull out of the drawer to get 2 matching ones? Just 3. In a set of 3 socks, he's bound to have 2 socks of the same color. Look at the picture carefully and try to figure out which person is left-handed. The waiter is a lefty. It's easier for a left-handed person to hold the tray in the right hand and deal with the food and drinks with the left or dominant one. A farmer only has goats, sheep, and horses on his farm. At the moment, they're all horses, but 5, all goats, but 4, and all sheep, but 3. So, how many of each animal does the farmer have? There were 3 sheep, 2 goats, and 1 horse on the farm. Altogether, there were 6 animals. Meh. Here's a quick joke. 2 geniuses are walking down the street. One genius says to the other, "Hey, you look down in the dumps. What's the gray matter?" I didn't say it was a good joke. Okay, you big-brain person you, here's another challenging quandary of riddles to solve. Ted is a lucky game show winner. He can pick one of the 3 prizes: a brand new Mercedes, a Louis Vuitton purse, or a MacBook. Which one should he choose? Think carefully, he can only get one prize. Look at the Mercedes. Its logo is wrong, so it must be fake. The same goes for the purse. That's what Louis Vuitton's real logo looks like. But the MacBook seems to be okay, at least at first sight. So let's go for it. A car thief appeared in a little town. Every night, a car went missing. First, it was Mr. Smith's red vehicle. The next day, it was Mr. Holmes' pink car. And last night, it was Mrs. Tanner's white Ford. The town's detective is going to stop the criminal. Take a look at the 4 cars that are still out there and help the man understand which car is going to be stolen next. There are 4 cars left: yellow, blue, green, and black. The first car that was stolen was red. The word red has 3 letters. The next one was pink. There are 4 letters in pink. The third vehicle was white, and the word white has 5 letters. It means the next car to be stolen is going to be yellow because there are 6 letters in this word, as best I can count. Mr. Jones was going on vacation. In the evening of his last day at work, he cleaned up his office and left, taking the key with him. When the man came back 2 weeks later, he immediately realized someone had broken into his office while he had been gone. How did he figure it out? Mr. Jones cleaned everything and took out the trash. But have a look at the garbage can now. There's some paper inside. Esme got lost in the forest. She was wandering around all day long and couldn't find a way out. Finally, at dusk, she saw a spooky house where a witch lived. Esme had nowhere else to go, so she entered the house and asked the witch to help her. The witch offered Esme to play a game. "I'll tell you a riddle. If you get the answer right, I'll take you out of the forest. But if you make a mistake, I'll keep you here as my maid forever." Esme had no choice but to agree. Here's what the witch said. "It has cities, but doesn't have a single house. It has mountains, but not a single tree. It has water, but no fish. What is it?" Can you help Esme? It's a map. Students got an assignment for their summer break. They had to start learning a new language. It could be any language they liked. When a new semester started, the teacher asked the students how it had been going. Mark said he had been learning Brazilian and enjoying it. Genevieve said she'd chosen Ukrainian. Ben said he had been learning Arabic. It turned out to be very hard, but interesting. But the teacher didn't believe one of the students. Who was lying? She didn't believe Mark, who had said he had been studying Brazilian. There's no Brazilian language. People speak Portuguese in Brazil. Oliver came back home and found a love letter in his mailbox. It was a very sweet one, but the sender didn't write their name. However, there was a little note at the end. J+1, B-1, R+2, H-3. Oliver has 4 suspects: Jane, Alex, Leah, and Kate. Can you tell which one of them wrote the love letter to Oliver? The note is the hint, of course, and the alphabet is the key. J+1 means the next letter in the alphabet, which is K. B-1 means one letter before B, which is A. 2 letters after R is T, and finally 3 letters before H, there's E. So, the secret admirer is Kate. Well, a very rich gentleman was having his 3-month vacation. 3 months? His mansion was burgled. The police were notified and the detectives started the investigation. There were 3 people caught on the security camera. They were interrogated. Max, the owner's old friend, said he had come several times to collect the mail. Gwen, the housemaid, said she had visited 3 days before to clean the house. Ronnie, the gardener, said he had been coming every week to take care of the garden. All of them denied stealing anything, but the detective didn't believe one of them. Who was lying? He didn't believe Gwen. She said she'd cleaned the house 3 days before. But look around. There's dust and dark stains everywhere. It doesn't look like it's been cleaned recently, so she must be lying. A long time ago, in Norway, a princess was taken away. She was locked in a small room on a tiny island in the middle of a huge lake. Even if she managed to get out of the room, she wouldn't be able to reach the shore. On the island, there were no trees or any tool she could use. It means she couldn't build a boat. And still, half a year later, The princess managed to escape and returned home all by herself. How did she do it? It happened in Norway. It's cold there in the winter. As soon as the lake froze over, the princess walked on the ice and escaped. Mrs. Brown called the hospital and said her husband had been hurt. When the doctor arrived, she led him to the bathroom. The man was lying on the floor inside. She said the bathroom door had been opened, and she saw everything when it happened. Her husband was washing his hands but slipped and hit his head on the sink. The doctor didn't believe her and called the police. Why? Look at how the man's lying. His head is on the opposite side of the sink. He couldn't have fallen like that. A tired mother of 3 daughters came home late after work. She found the kitchen all messy. It seemed one of her daughters made a sandwich but didn't clean after herself. The mother walked upstairs and found all 3 of them doing their homework. She asked who had made the sandwich, but all the girls, Hannah, Della, and Emily, denied making one. Still, the mother could tell who was lying. Look at the kitchen and the girls carefully. Who do you think is guilty? And how did the mother understand who was lying? There's some butter on the right side of the knife. It means the person who made the sandwich is left-handed. There's only one left-handed girl in the family, and that's Emily. So, it must have been her. All the money from the city's bank was stolen right in the middle of the day, but no one noticed that. Several days later, the room where the money used to be stored was found completely empty. There was just one note saying 7718. The police arrested the 3 most known criminals in the city, Bill, Mark, and Cole, but the officers didn't know which of them was guilty. They invited a famous detective to crack the mysterious note, and he managed to do it immediately. Can you do it too? Turn the paper upside down. This way, the numbers turn into a name, Bill. He must be the culprit. Now wait. If Bill isn't quite that dumb to name himself, did someone else frame Bill for the robbery? Hey, just thinking out loud here. Moving on. Devian found his friend Aaron in his room. The guy was poisoned. Devian called the police. When the officers arrived, he told them he had been walking past Oliver's house and noticed the light in his room was on. He came up to the window to check who was inside, his friend or his brother. It was cold and there was frost on the window, so he wiped it away to see who was inside. When Devian saw Oliver lying on the floor, he called the police. The officers didn't believe the guy and immediately arrested him. Why? Devian said he'd wiped the frost off the window to see better, but he couldn't possibly do it. Frost forms on the inner surface of the window. Now, let's check how well you know logos. In each pair, you'll have to pick the correct one. What does the Apple logo look like? Try to recall the one on Ted's MacBook. The second logo is correct. Okay, here's Instagram. Do you remember what its icon looks like? Yes, this small dot must be in the right corner, so the first logo is correct. I bet you see it every day. What's the real Google logo? It's the second one. First the red O, then the yellow one. Which one is the correct Burger King logo? Of course, it's a second one. Now I'm hungry. If you play video games, you must know it. If not, well, try yourself. Which PlayStation logo is correct? The second one. Okay, now, a tough one. Which TikTok logo is correct? It's the first one. Check it out if you don't believe me.